$250,000. That was a single day's take for a company that built nothing, manufactured nothing, and sold nothing at all. 20,000 people handed this man their savings, their mortgages, their futures. Within a year, almost all of it was gone, and the man who took it would one day die with exactly $75 to his name. But the strangest part isn't how Charles Ponzi stole a fortune. It's that he almost got away with it, hiding behind a worthless little postal coupon. Stay with me. Chapter 1: The $2 Immigrant. On the 15th of November, 1903, a steamship called the Vancouver docked in Boston. Aboard was a young Italian named Carlo Ponzi, who had gambled away nearly all his savings on the crossing. He stepped ashore with $2.50 to his name. For years, he was nobody, washing dishes, waiting tables, drifting from city to city. Then, around 1907, he crossed into Canada and found work at a Montreal bank called Banco Zerosi. The bank was itself a kind of fraud, paying impossible interest out of its own depositors' money. When it collapsed, Ponzi forged a check to stay afloat. He was caught almost at once and spent 3 years in a Quebec prison. He returned to the United States in 1911 and was arrested again, this time for smuggling Italian migrants across the border. By the time he was free, Charles Ponzi was past 30, twice a convict, and completely unknown. Chapter 2: The Coupon. Then, in the summer of 1919, a letter arrived from Europe. Inside was something called an international reply coupon. The idea was seductive. Buy the coupon cheaply in a country with a broken currency, post-war Italy, and redeem it in America for stamps worth many times more. Buy low in Rome, cash out high in Boston. There was just one problem. The coupons could only be exchanged for stamps, never for cash. To build a fortune, you would have to buy and redeem millions of tiny paper slips. It could never truly work. But Ponzi didn't need it to work. He only needed people to believe that it did. In January 1920, he opened the Securities Exchange Company and made one intoxicating promise. Give me your money, and in 45 days I will return it, plus 50%. 50% in 6 weeks, at a time when a savings bank paid 5% in a year. The first investors were paid exactly what they were promised, because there were never any coupons. Ponzi was simply taking money from new investors to pay the old ones. Chapter 3: $250,000 a day. Word spread through Boston's Italian Quarter, then across the whole city. Police officers invested, widows invested, families mortgaged their homes to get in. In April, he took in $141,000. In May, $500,000. By July of 1920, money was arriving at $250,000 a day. Charles Ponzi, the $2 immigrant, bought a mansion, a fleet of cars, and a controlling share of the very bank that held his millions, the Hanover Trust. Chapter 4: The Math That Killed It. But empires built on paper always burn, and Ponzi's was set alight by two men armed with nothing but arithmetic. The first was his own publicist, William McMasters. Hired to polish Ponzi's image, he found the books instead, and concluded his client was, in his words, hopelessly insolvent. He took the story to the Boston Post. The second was a financial analyst, Clarence Barron. He asked one devastating question: to back all the money Ponzi had taken, how many postal coupons would actually need to exist? The answer was 160 million. The number in circulation in the entire world was about 27,000. Chapter 5: The Run. On July 26, 1920, the Boston Post put the numbers on its front page. The spell broke at once. Within hours, thousands surrounded his offices demanding their money. For a few desperate days, Ponzi kept smiling, kept paying, handing out millions to calm the crowd. It wasn't enough. Chapter 6: The Fall. On August 11th, the Post exposed his criminal past, the forgery, the prison cells. 2 days later, Charles Ponzi surrendered. When auditors opened his books, they found no investments and no coupons, nothing. Just a hole at least $7 million deep. 6 banks fell with him. His investors got back roughly 30 cents on the dollar. The rest simply vanished. Chapter 7: Florida and Exile. He was sentenced for mail fraud, but Ponzi wasn't done. Out on bail, he resurfaced in Florida in 1925, selling swampland through the Charpon Land Syndicate, promising once again impossible returns. He was caught, jumped bail, caught again, and served years in a Massachusetts prison. When he walked out in 1934, the country had had enough. He was deported to Italy, the place he had left, broke, 3 decades before. Chapter 8: $75. His last years were a slow fade. Through Mussolini's Italy, then a job for an Italian airline in Brazil that did not last. On the 18th of January 1949, Charles Ponzi died in the charity ward of a hospital in Rio de Janeiro, partly blind, partly paralyzed, leaving an estate worth $75, just enough to bury him. But he left one more thing, a name. Every Ponzi scheme since, every impossible return paid with someone else's money, still carries the name of the $2 immigrant who proved how badly we want to believe. This film is presented for historical and informational purposes. Every figure in it is long deceased, and every fact is drawn from the public record. If you believe stories like this deserve to be told carefully, subscribe. There's a new case every week. Paper empires, empires built on paper, always burn.